Barely keeping my sanity in a locked casket, this is Tell It Someone. First question, of course, is from Canadian Atheist. Know of any home remedies for cataract? Well, yeah. Yes, well, yes. Okay. Yes, I saw something on the internet. They did it in 1789 with the equipment that they had then. So I assume you could do this, but don't do this at home. What they did was in the late 1780s, what they used to do, this is what they invented, they used to wait until your cataract was ripe. Okay, and by ripe meaning so thick and meaty that you couldn't see out of it at all, and it could be removed in one go without breaking. Now what they used to do is cut around the cornea, around the lens, all the way around the top half, and then they used to gently, very gently pull the cataract out with some tweezers. And then they put the lens of the eye back up and pat your eye, and you'd have to wait 6 weeks until you knew whether you were not blind again. And you've got to make sure everything is like sterile, even though they didn't know what sterile meant in the late 1890s. And apparently it worked. Apparently, possibly. I don't know. I don't live back in the 18th century, so I absolutely don't recommend this. Don't do eye surgery on yourself at home. Ask a professional to do it at home if they live in a hospital, an eye hospital. Next question, of course, is from Nish Brown. How long would it take to cross Australia if you travelled by catapult? Okay. The problem here is, yes, you could possibly travel across Australia by catapult, but catapult's range is only like maybe a couple of 100 metres or so, and so what you'd have to do is you would have to have some friends load you into the catapult and then throw you 100 metres and then drag the catapult that 100 metres, reload you back into the catapult and throw you another 100 metres, and so until you're all the way across the country, which will take several months, and you'd probably be dead by about the third 100 metres. But if your friends were travelling on the motorised catapult that was throwing you off the catapult, they would survive travelling via catapult, because the motorised catapult would be carrying them to the next target. So maybe you might just want to ride on top of the motorised catapult and cut out the middleman. Really, why would your friends put you in a catapult and throw you in the first place? Just ride in the catapult all the way. You haven't thought this through, have you? You haven't thought this through. Next question, of course, from Bra. If quiz are quizzes, then what are tests? If quiz are quizzical, then what? Then tests are what? Ticklish. Blender Conchas. If Australian wildlife is so dangerous, how did the cane toad and the rabbit manage to conquer it so devastatingly and utterly? Well, of course, yes, the Australian animals that were the deadliest survived the onslaught of the cane toad and the rabbit. But the cane toad and the rabbit have unique defences that makes them very suitable for this country, in that the rabbits can really outbreed everything and just wipe them out, and the cane toads have this venom, and when like anything eats the cane toad, it also eats the venom. So yeah, don't eat the cane toads, because they're from Hawaii, I think, or the northern part of South America, or one of those countries, and they have defences there, but they don't have defences here. And they imported the cane toad to eat the cane beetle, and then the cane beetle didn't look delicious, so they just kept on breeding and moving north and south. So yeah, there's ways to get around it, but I'm not going to go into that yet. Maybe in the next question. That's foreshadowing. You don't know what the next question is. Having Wasawas asks, do crows hold grudges? Yes, and yes. I mean, you know, all corvids hold grudges. I mean, look at what the magpies do, you know, with the swooping and the thwacking and the back of the head and the bicycle off and falling off and all that sort of thing. But crows, yes, they do hold grudges, and you know, they have a special thing about cane toads. Well, one of them worked out a way of getting at cane toads. What they did was they used to flip them over, and then they would eat the cane toads from underneath after the cane toads were flipped over, because the cane toads don't have any poison glands in their delicious belly fat. So what the one clever crow did was flip the cane toads over, smash it on a rock, and eat all the gooey goodness within. And then all of the cane toads, all of the crows around, had learned the lesson from that one clever little crow, and now that fashion for eating cane toads has gone basically the crow equivalent of viral across the whole of a specific area of Australia, and it still hasn't kept the cane toads numbers down, but at least the crows got fed, and a little bit high, because they still got a little bit of the venom, but not enough to actually kill them, just enough to get them. Whoa! I don't know what the effect of a small amount of cane toad venom does, because I haven't actually licked any, and I'm not going to. Don't ask me to. No. Bad. Next question, of course, from Walkman 1269. Babylon Bee is funny. That's not a question. But, okay, let's look at the Babylon Bay Twitter page and see what they have right now. Dems explain they don't want billionaires controlling our media unless they're Bezos, Zuckerberg, Gates, Bloomberg, Buffett or Soros. Okay, that's kind of funny, but probably not for the same reasons as they think it's funny. Because this is why they lost. They think the billionaires are on our side, and they go pandering to the billionaires. I mean, Bezos with his union busting and making sure that all his newspapers are neutral, even though the fact that Donald Trump is extremely corrupt. No, let's just be neutral, even though half their editorial team resigns because they don't like the neutrality, because they know that Trump is very, very, very corrupt and wrathful and all of that sort of thing. But no, we're going to keep it neutral, incredibly neutral, and not going, even though all of the facts say no, they're not. It's one side is incredibly corrupt, and the other side is it is also corrupt. But one side is incredibly corrupt. Then who else do they list? Zuckerberg. Oh yes, what did Zuckerberg do in 2016? Oh yes, he gave Steve Bannon control of the news bit of Facebook, and what happened? He put Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder right up the top of the news list before even any of the legacy media, none of the legitimate media, none of the left-wing media, none of that. All far right-wing psychopaths dominated the Facebook news feed, and all of that fake news was all right-wing too, and yet, oh no, let's go cap in hand to Zuckerberg because he's not Elon Musk. Of course, not being Elon Musk is a good reason to go cap in hand to them, but it's not good enough, is it? And Bill Gates, oh yes, he gave billions of dollars for the vaccines, and then what did he do? He kept control of the vaccine recipe himself. So the third world couldn't make it themselves. They had to go cap in hand to Bill Gates, and Bill Gates just kept control of it himself because he likes to keep control of everything. All of the software and all of the IPs all belong to him now. Who else? Bloomberg, oh yes, the man who became a billionaire through selling information to big businesses. And he ran as a Republican most of the time, except once Trump came in office, because Bloomberg is in the business of selling actual news. He knew that Trump is incredibly corrupt, so he just switched parties and became a Democrat, even though he was a Republican most of the time, and still believes in everything the Republicans stand for, except for Donald Trump. Yes, Buffett is also just one of those people who just keeps on having to buy up everything. He just buys up everything when he buys stuff up when the economy is crashing, because that's how you get rich. You buy up certain assets and then you hold them forever. And now he's 99 and a billionaire, and he's going to die very soon. But he's very rich, very, very rich. And George Soros, he deliberately crashed the British economy by shorting the pound. And now the bit that isn't London is now poorer than Greece, while the bit that is London is extremely rich, because that's where the billionaires live. All of the billionaires, including the Russian oligarchs who basically stole the entire Russian economy and then moved to London because it's a nice place for rich people to live now. And that's the whole problem with the Democratic Party. They just like rich people. Oh yes, they like Oprah. Oprah is fabulous. Oprah sent children to punishment camps. Look it up. But they give $1 million to wave his little hand at the thing at the Democratic, what's the thing called again? The thing that the big party they have. Well, it's just a party, isn't it? It's a big party with all those rich people, and we're not really invited. We can watch all the rich people, and she gets paid $1 million to do a little speech, and meanwhile, she is profiting from selling everybody down the street, everybody. She promoted MLMs, she promoted John of God, she promoted every single quack remedy and get-rich-quick scheme there was, all the way through the 1980s and 1990s. And then she promoted Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil, who did more of the same, only incredibly more profitably. And all the audience claps and screams just like that time she said, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. Well, you know what those cars were, don't you? They were brand new cars that were destined for the junk pile, except Oprah swooped in and gave them all to these poor deserving people who had to pay the tax on everything, all of those cars. And those people couldn't even afford the $100 junk piles, and yet they're given brand new cars and have to pay the tax on those brand new cars, which means they couldn't keep those brand new cars because the tax on the brand new cars is more than the full value of the piles of junk they would have bought if they couldn't get those brand new cars. You see the problem here? Even when she does something good for people, it's really, really bad. Okay, I've had my little rant. Last question for the day is Jonathan's turn. Please, if I'm too late now, when is too late to ask a question? If I am too late now, then I'll ask you slightly earlier in next week if until I'm able to get in on time. Well, yes, it is too late now. It wasn't too late when you asked the question because it's in here now. But you are too late because after you asked the question, and then a few days later, I went and read your question here. And after now, it's too late to ask me a question for this episode because I'm already reading the questions and answering them. I'm tired now. I'm not just telling us that I don't have a cool sign-off, but that's something I should do at the end of the thing, not before I say this thing, the dovetail question, because I'm still, I ranted out and I'm a bit tired and it's a bit warm today and I don't know what's going on. So I put up the dovetail question over there. That's the question that you can answer in order to drive up my engagement further. Not that I'm still single, ladies, but that's the dovetail question over there. I'm just trying to work through a few things at the moment. What else can I do? I asked you the dovetail question. I'll ask you a question for next. I'm dangerously talented. I don't have a cool sign up. 3 times in a row.